The night the stars listened, Earth was silent. No rockets whispered through the sky. No signals blinked between the ruined satellites that once danced around the planet. Humanity had grown quiet. Broken cities, quiet oceans, and a sky that seemed to hold its breath. But in that hush, one sound dared to rise. A voice. It came from a small observatory on the edge of the old world, where a young woman named Melody Lane sat beneath cracked glass and dust-covered consoles. She was not a scientist, not anymore. She was a music therapist, once devoted to healing minds through sound, before the wars, before the silence. Now she sang alone to a world that had forgotten how to listen. Her voice drifted through the dark, trembling but sincere. She sang an old Earth lullaby, one her mother used to hum, about rain, forgiveness, and the fragile beauty of simply breathing. Her words echoed off the metal walls, wrapping the air with something unseen but deeply felt. She didn't know that the old transmitter beside her still worked. It flickered weakly, then hummed, sending her melody upward, beyond clouds, beyond atmosphere, into the infinite black and far away. Across 1,000 light years, someone, or something, heard her. In the crystalline towers of Virelon, the Celestara gathered in stillness. They were beings of pure light and mind, ancient seers who had transcended emotion. For centuries they had known only reason and silence. But on that night their leader, Oracle Kaelir, paused mid-vision. His consciousness, vast and clear as starlight, trembled. A vibration, foreign, imperfect, yet impossibly beautiful, entered the psychic stream. It was her song. The Celestara turned their faceless gazes toward the stars, sensing what their kind had forgotten to feel. Warmth. Kaelir saw colors he had never imagined. Deep gold, soft blue, human sorrow wrapped in hope. "What is this? Pulse?" one of the seers whispered through the collective. Kaelir's form shimmered. "Emotion," he answered, the word almost painful to pronounce. "It comes from a living world, called Earth." And then, for the first time in thousands of years, he smiled, though his kind had no mouths. Back on Earth, Melody sat by the window, the stars glittering like old promises. She pressed her hand against the cold glass and whispered to no one. Maybe someone's listening. The wind caught her voice, carrying it upward. A pulse of gold crossed the night sky, unnoticed by human eyes. It was a signal answered. In the depths of space, the oracle spoke to his council. "A human has awakened the deep resonance. We must find her. A primitive species," they murmured, "unworthy of contact." Kaelir turned toward the great pool of light that showed distant worlds. "Unworthy?" he said softly. "Her song made us feel. That makes her more powerful than we have ever been." A decision rippled through the light-born assembly. A vessel of energy took form, woven from starlight and sound. Its course toward the blue planet whose melody had crossed eternity, and below, Melody's old radio began to hum again. Faintly at first, then with a steady rhythm, echoing her tune back at her. She leaned close, smiling in wonder. "That's impossible." But in the silence that followed, a new sound emerged. A voice not her own, deep and luminous, whispered through the static. "Melody of Earth." "We heard you." Her heart stopped. The stars seemed to pulse in response. And from that single moment, one song in the dark, began a legend that would echo across galaxies. The sky broke open like a dream too bright to be real. Melody stood outside her observatory, her breath a ghost in the night as colors she couldn't name shimmered through the darkness. Golds bled into violet. The air itself trembled with sound, harmonic, vast, alive. A voice resonated through her bones, deep and gentle. "Melody of Earth," it said. "Your song has crossed the void. You are called." She turned in circles, eyes wide, heart pounding. "Who's there?" she whispered, though something deep within already knew. From the sky descended a figure of living light, tall, radiant, shifting like mist wrapped in stars. He wasn't human, not in shape or presence, yet his glow felt warm, almost kind. "I am Kaelir, Oracle of the Celestara," the voice echoed, not in her ears but in her mind. "Your melody awakened what was lost to us. You carry emotion, something my people forgot long ago. We need your help to remember." Melody's throat tightened. "I'm no one special, I just sing." "You sing," Kaelir replied softly, "and entire worlds listen." The light surrounding him extended, becoming a hand woven from starlight. "Come, Melody." Come where your heart was heard. The night wind brushed her face, and for a moment she hesitated. She looked back at her observatory, broken, lonely, filled with dust and memories. There was nothing left to hold her here. With trembling fingers, she reached out and touched the hand of light. The world dissolved. There was no falling, no motion, only color, expanding and folding around her like silk. Her heartbeat became sound. Her breath turned into radiance. She was weightless, then whole again. When she opened her eyes, she stood within a vast hall of glass and light, the Hall of Echoes. Its walls shimmered with living sound, every vibration painting the air with glowing ribbons. Around her, figures of crystalline beauty floated silently, the Celestara. Kyle Ear's voice surrounded her, calm, yet filled with awe. This is Virelon, home of my kind. We exist through resonance, through thought. But we have forgotten feeling. You human carry its seed. Melody stepped forward, her reflection rippling through the glass floor. You want me to sing? Sing, Kaler said. Let the forgotten heart of the universe hear you. So she did. Her voice rose softly at first, trembling with wonder and fear. Then stronger, clear and human. The hall came alive, light bending with each note, forming waves of color that cascaded like waterfalls. The Celestara, once motionless, began to shimmer with emotion, colors blooming within their translucent forms. Some glowed with golden joy. Others dimmed with shades of sorrow they had never known before. Kalir stood still, mesmerized. This is what we lost. When the final note faded, silence hung in the hall. Not empty, but sacred. The Celestara bowed their luminous heads. Kyler spoke again, but his voice trembled. You are no longer just melody of earth. You are the bridge of souls. Through you, we remember what it means to feel. Melody's heart swelled, and a tear fell, shining like liquid crystal on the floor. The hall caught it, magnified it, and suddenly the tear became a sphere of light floating upward, glowing brighter and brighter until it burst into 1,000 stars. The Celestara gasped, beings who had forgotten how. Kaler turned to her and said quietly, Your tears make new stars. You have brought emotion to immortals. And in that radiant silence, Melody realized her song had done more than reach the stars. It had awakened them. Time on Virelon flowed like music, each hour a note, each day a verse. For Melody Lane, it was as if she had stepped inside the heartbeat of the universe itself. Every sound shimmered into light. Every emotion she felt painted the air with color. Yet, even in this paradise of harmony, a quiet ache followed her. She sang for the Celestara every dawn. Her song stirred forgotten echoes in their crystal hearts, echoes of laughter, longing, loss. With each performance, the alien seers rediscovered what it meant to feel. They learned to weep light, to smile through sound. And through it all, Oracle Kaler watched her, not as a subject of study, but as something irreplaceable. Still, something was changing in Melody. After each song, she felt weaker. Her fingertips glowed faintly where her skin touched the air. Her voice, once warm and full, began to carry threads of starlight. The Celestara were drawing from her, not by choice but by nature. Her humanity was slowly merging with their essence. Kalir noticed the shimmer of exhaustion in her eyes. You give too much, he said one twilight, his tone gentle but heavy with worry. Melody smiled faintly. I'm not giving, I'm sharing. Isn't that what connection means? Connection is balance, Kalir replied. Yet you burn brighter every time you sing. You cannot give fire without losing flame. She looked up at him, at his translucent form glowing with soft hues of violet. Maybe that's what being human is, she whispered. To give, even when it hurts. To feel so deeply that it changes you. Kalir was silent. He did not understand, but he wanted to. That night, as Virelon's twin moons aligned, Melody dreamt of Earth. She saw the rain again, that soft, forgiving rhythm she used to hum beneath gray skies. She saw her mother's hands, the broken streets, the silence she had once feared. And for the first time since she left, she cried. Her tears drifted upward like drops of light. They didn't fall, they rose. Slowly. They formed tiny spheres that glowed brighter with every heartbeat. When she awoke, she found the Celestara gathered around her, their luminous faces reflecting the light of her sorrow. What is this phenomenon? One whispered. Kalir's voice was quiet, reverent. Her pain creates stars. Melody blinked, still half dreaming. They're not stars, she said softly. They're memories. Every one of them is something I thought I'd lost. The Celestara reached toward the floating lights, feeling emotion flow through them. Nostalgia, love, regret. For a species that had forgotten what tears were, it was like touching the divine. From that day forward, Melody's chamber became the room of resonance, a sanctuary where emotion became creation. Her laughter sparked silver blooms across the ceiling. Her songs painted galaxies on glass. Every breath she took was a reminder of life's fragile beauty. Yet deep inside her the ache grew. Every act of creation drained her bit by bit. Her body shimmered faintly. Her voice carried undertones of celestial hum. She was becoming something between human and light. Kalir stood with her often, watching, listening. You are changing, he murmured, becoming infinite. Melody turned her gaze toward the glowing stars she had cried into existence. I don't want to be infinite, she said. I just want to be real, even if it means fading. Kalir felt something stir within him. Fear. The oracle, untouched by time, now feared loss. He placed a hand of light upon her shoulder, feeling warmth for the first time. In that moment, both human and alien understood what words could not say. To feel is to risk pain, but it is also to live. And so the oracle began to feel, truly feel, because a single human heart had taught him the sound of memory. The more Melody sang, the brighter she became, and the dimmer she felt inside. Every note she released left a faint glow on her skin. Every melody carried a piece of her life force into the ether. The Celestara called it transference, but to her it felt like being unspooled thread by thread. The Hall of Echoes had changed too. Once a solemn chamber of light, it now pulsed with color and warmth. Emotions danced across its walls, joy in golden waves, sorrow in deep blue. The Celestara spoke less through thought and more through song now, as if her humanity had rewired the essence of their world. Yet their oracle, Kalir, grew restless. The council warned him, their voices harmonizing like cold bells. She is mortal. Her resonance cannot sustain this realm much longer. If she continues, she will be lost. Kalir's light dimmed. Without her, we return to silence. Silence is our nature, they answered. We must not anchor our eternity to her fragility. But Kalir could not accept that. Each time Melody sang, he felt something shift within him. A pulse, a warmth that blurred logic. Her laughter echoed in his mind like sunlight through glass. He began to dream, something his kind was not meant to do. That night he found her standing beneath the radiant sky, where streams of starlight flowed like rivers above the city. Her body shimmered faintly transparent, her silhouette outlined in silver flame. She smiled when she saw him, though her voice trembled with fatigue. You've been watching me, she said softly. I must, he replied. You are unraveling. She laughed, a fragile human sound. I've always been unraveling, Kalir. That's what being alive is. We're temporary, and that's what makes it beautiful. He stepped closer, his presence wrapping her like warmth. You do not fear vanishing? I fear not being remembered, she whispered. Kalir studied her, the mortal who had done the impossible. Your existence will echo beyond time, he said. But He paused, his glow flickering faintly. I fear losing you now that I finally understand what you've given me. She looked up, meeting his gaze. Though he had no eyes, she felt them on her soul. You learned to feel, she said. That's what matters. You'll carry that long after I'm gone. Kalir's voice deepened, trembling with something new, tenderness. I would rather carry you. Melody felt her breath catch. For a heartbeat, two beings, one human, one immortal, stood beneath the rushing cosmos, bound by emotion neither world had words for. Kalir, she began, but her voice faltered. The glow around her flared too bright. her outline flickering like a candle in wind. She stumbled, and he reached out instinctively. His hand, once intangible, solidified, shimmering into form. When he caught her for the first time, he felt touch. It was warmth, real, terrifying. Perfect. Your form, she gasped. You're solid. I anchored myself to you, he said quietly. Your presence bends my reality. Tears welled in her eyes, light refracting through them like rainbows. Kaeler, you can't. If you tie yourself to me, you'll lose eternity, he finished, then let it be lost. The air trembled as he pulled her closer, the stars flaring above them. In that touch, energy rippled across Virelon, a vibration so profound that every Celestara paused mid-thought. They felt the impossible, the pulse of love. Melody looked up, breathless. What happens now? Kaeler's light dimmed and steadied. Now, we walked together in the balance between being and fading. And as they stood beneath the rivers, of light two worlds, emotionless eternity and fragile humanity, Khan began to merge. The oracle had broken his laws, and the human had given her soul to the stars. It was the beginning of something wondrous, and the start of her end. Emotion had returned to Virelon, and with it came chaos. What began as whispers of feeling soon grew into a tempest. The Celestara, once serene beings of thought, now trembled beneath the flood of sensations they couldn't control. Joy turned to obsession. Curiosity became fear. Love, new and wild, burned too brightly. All across their crystal world, lights flared and dimmed in erratic rhythm. The harmony web, their vast psychic network, overloaded with emotion. The Celestara, unable to contain the flood of newfound feelings, began to fracture. The realm of light shuddered under the strain. They called it the echo storm, a cataclysm born from the human heart. Melody stood at the center of it, her song once a beacon, now the storm's core. The resonance of her existence echoed through every mind on Virelon. Her gift had awakened them, but it was also tearing their world apart. Kaeler, the oracle, who had defied eternity for her, stood beside her as chaos flared outside the Hall of Echoes. You must stop singing, he said, his voice rippling with urgency. If you continue, the resonance will consume both you and us. Melody shook her head, her voice trembling. Kaeler, without my song, they'll lose it all again. The emotions, the light, the humanity you found, it will vanish. Better that than the death of our world, he replied, the glow of conflict pulsing across his translucent form. You don't understand. Your essence is too strong. The fabric of our being cannot endure it. Her eyes glistened. And what about you? Can you endure losing what you've become? Kaeler hesitated, a pause that spoke more than any words. He looked at her, the mortal who had changed everything, and for the first time, fear clouded his radiant calm. Outside, the skies cracked open, rivers of light pouring across the horizon. The echo storm howled like a billion voices crying at once. Love, pain, wonder, loss, all colliding. The Celestara's brilliance began to flicker. Whole constellations quivered in agony. Kaeler reached for Melody's hands. If this continues, you'll burn away completely. I cannot let you die for us. She smiled softly through her tears. Kaeler, every song ends, but what matters is that it was sung. No, his voice deepened, trembling with emotion he could no longer suppress. I will not let you fade. If you must go, I will go with you. Her breath hitched. You'd give up eternity? I already have, he whispered. And in that moment, Kaeler made his choice. He raised his hands to the air, summoning the resonance that bound his kind together. Then let it be bound, human heart to celestial soul. Let our worlds merge and find balance. The Hall of Echoes blazed with light. Melody felt her heartbeat sync with the pulse of the planet itself. Together they began to sing, Not a song of sorrow this time, but of union. Their voices entwined, human and alien, warmth and clarity, chaos and calm. The storm roared, but slowly, it began to harmonize. Colors shifted from violent bursts to gentle waves. The discord softened into melody and the chaos folded into peace. When the final note faded, silence descended, not hollow but full. The echo storm was gone. The Celestara were still, glowing softly, their forms steadied by newfound balance. They now understood love, not as destruction, but as creation. Melody fell to her knees, glowing faintly, her form barely human. Kaler caught her before she fell, his light flickering with emotion too vast for words. "Did it work?" she whispered weakly. Kaler looked around at the tranquil horizon. "Yes, you've healed the storm," she smiled faintly. "Then it was worth it." Kaler's voice cracked, soft and breaking. "Don't leave me." Her light dimmed, flickering gently. "I'm not leaving. I'm just changing." And as she closed her eyes, the stars themselves seemed to bow, as if the entire universe paused to listen to the last hum of a human soul. The storm was over, but in its calm, a silence too deep for words settled in Kyler's heart. When the light faded, only silence remained. The Hall of Echoes stood bathed in soft gold, its walls alive with the aftermath of a miracle. The Celestara, once fractured by chaos, stood whole again, their resonance calm, balanced. But at the center of the hall, where Melody had sung her final harmony, there was no longer a woman, only light. It shimmered softly, human-shaped, delicate, pulsing like a heartbeat. The echo of her final note still lingered in the air, gentle as dawn after a storm. Killer knelt beside it, trembling. He reached out, but his hand passed through the radiance as though it were mist. "Melody," he whispered, his voice breaking into a sound his kind had never made. "Grief, you are gone." From the light came a faint whisper, warm as memory. "Not gone, only changed." Kaler froze. The voice wasn't sound, it was resonance, alive within every vibration around him. He looked upward, and above the crystalline ceiling a new star was born. It pulsed in perfect rhythm with her final heartbeat. The Celestara gathered, awed. "She has become one of the eternal lights," they murmured. "A human, now part of the cosmos itself." Kaler rose slowly. "No," he said softly. "She has become more. She is the bridge between all that feels and all that thinks." From that day they called her the Star of Melody. Her radiance hung in the heavens above Viraillon, never fading, never still. Every Celestara could feel her pulse. A reminder that emotion and logic were not enemies, but halves of the same truth. Kaler, once their oracle, became the keeper of the star. He spent his days guiding his people in the harmony she had left behind. He taught them the language of feeling, the balance between thought and heart. The Celestara learned to express joy without losing clarity, to grieve without despair. They sang again, not because they were commanded to, but because they wanted to. Their voices rose in luminous choirs that spread across the galaxy like gentle fire. Every melody they sang began the same way, with the notes of an old Earth lullaby. Her lullaby. Centuries passed, yet Kyler did not fade. His immortality had changed. He was no longer bound to cold eternity, but to her star. Whenever he looked at it, he felt warmth ripple through his core, faint but real. Sometimes he swore he could hear her hum through the cosmic winds as though she were still guiding him from beyond light. One night, standing beneath the silver horizon, he whispered, "I kept my promise." They remember Melody. The star above flickered once in a slow, tender pulse, and in that instant Kaler felt a presence brush against his mind. It was soft, human, impossibly familiar. "And I remember you," her voice whispered. He closed his eyes, letting the echo of her words sink into him. For the first time in an age, Kaler felt peace. Not the emptiness of calm logic, but the deep stillness that comes from love fulfilled. The Celestara no longer feared emotion. They embraced it, knowing that their light now carried the essence of a single human heart. Viraillon itself seemed brighter, its skies alive with gentle radiance. The storm was a story, the loss a lesson, and the melody, A myth that never ended. Kyler lifted his gaze one last time toward her star. You showed us what it means to feel, he said. You gave your life for that truth. But you did not vanish, you became eternity itself. And above him, the star pulsed once more, bright as laughter. Thus, the human who sang to heal a broken world became something more than mortal, more than legend, a living harmony that bound two civilizations together. She was no longer just a melody. She was the song written across the stars. 1,000 years passed, and yet her song never truly faded. The name Melody Lane had become something more than history. It was devotion, whispered across galaxies as both prayer and promise. On distant worlds, travelers spoke of her star, the one that pulsed with warmth in the northern skies of Virelon. It was said that if you stood beneath it and closed your eyes, you could feel a heartbeat that wasn't your own. Gentle, human, alive. To the Celestara, she was not just a legend. She was the breath between their thoughts. The oracle's halls had become the temple of resonance where her story was told in waves of light. New generations of seers sang her melodies, their voices echoing with compassion and wonder. No one on Virelon had ever seen her, yet all felt her. Every act of kindness, every moment of empathy carried a trace of the bridge of souls. Kyler, though now part myth himself, still lingered, unchanged by time. His form had grown softer, his glow dimmer, but his spirit endured, bound eternally to the star that bore her name. Many thought him a spirit of light, a guardian born from the star's grace. But in the quiet moments, when the temples fell silent and the air stilled, he could still hear her. Sometimes it was a hum, faint as a breath. Sometimes it was a full song, weaving through the wind like starlight set to rhythm. It came not as memory but as presence. He knew then that she was never truly gone. One night, a young Celestara named Liren approached him beneath the shimmering dome. "Keeper," she asked softly, "is it true that she was mortal?" Kyler smiled faintly. She was human, fragile, flawed, fleeting, and yet she carried the strength of 1,000 suns. But how could someone so small change the fate of eternity? He looked up at her star, its light reflecting in his translucent hands. Because she felt. Because she dared to love in a universe that had forgotten what love was. That was her power. Liren bowed her head. "Do you miss her?" Kaler's light flickered once like a sigh. "Every moment," he said. "But her melody lives in everything that feels. Every tear that falls, every laugh that breaks silence, that's her. I could never lose her, not truly." As he spoke, a soft vibration stirred in the air. The Celestara around him turned toward the sound. From the sky, gentle harmonies descended, the faint, pure, unmistakably human. The star of melody was singing again. No one moved. They listened. The entire planet stilled beneath the voice that had once reshaped their existence. It was the same lullaby she'd sung long ago on Earth, the one about rain, forgiveness, and fragile hope. But now it was vast, cosmic, endless. Kaler lifted his gaze, his heart trembling with the ache of memory and joy. "You still sing for them," he whispered. Her voice replied, soft and radiant, woven through the air. "And for you." Light poured across Virelon, washing through every being, binding their minds in one beautiful harmony. The Celestara wept light, not in sorrow but in gratitude. Even the stars beyond seemed to shimmer in time with her song. When the melody faded, a stillness fell again, peaceful, eternal. Kaler stood with his face turned upward, the faintest smile crossing his luminous form. "From melody to myth," he murmured, "and from myth to forever." He felt her presence beside him, unseen but certain. Not a memory, a promise fulfilled. And so her legend lived on. Not carved in stone or scripture, but written in resonance, in kindness, in the pulse of life across the cosmos. Every world that rediscovered empathy, every being that dared to feel, was unknowingly singing her song. Because somewhere in the deep vastness, the first human to touch the stars still sang, a voice eternal, a bridge between hearts, a light that would never fade. She was melody. She became myth, and she remained, forever, the star that taught the universe to feel.